This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
AI is incredible. It can teach you how to fry an egg and even write a poem, pirate style. Yarr! But it knows nothing about your work. Slackbot is different. It doesn't just know the facts. It knows your schedule. It can turn a brainstorm into a brief. And it doesn't need to be taught. Because Slackbot isn't just another AI. It's AI that knows your work as well as you do. Visit slack.com/meet Slackbot to learn more.
Hi, this is Dr. Willie Jolley, and I want to welcome you to the new and improved Willie Jolley Wealthy Ways podcast. After many years of interviewing the best and brightest thought leaders around the world on my SiriusXM show, I am excited to now have those interviews available to people around the globe on this podcast. So many people would write us and say, I love what I've been hearing about your interviews with these great people. Where can I access them? I live in this country or that country, or I don't have access to that technology. How can I get the information? Well, I'm so excited now that we are able to offer the information and the interviews free on this podcast. So we want you to sit back and enjoy this message and let me know how you like them. And then do me a favor. If you like them, send a review. Write a review and post it. And if you like it, hit like on here and share it. And tell everybody you know about it. And then subscribe to this podcast so you'll get the alerts when we post a new interview episode. Thank you for listening and enjoy the Willie Jolley Wealthy Ways podcast.
Named one of the outstanding 5 speakers in the world.
Inducted into the Speaker Hall of Fame.
Award-winning singer.
Best-selling author.
And now, here's Willie Jolley.
Well, it's a great day. This is Dr. Willie Jolley, and I want to thank you for tuning in to the Willie Jolley Wealthy Ways show. You know, I have only just a minute, only 60 seconds in it. Forced upon me, can't refuse it, didn't seek it, didn't choose it, but it's up to me to use it. I must suffer if I lose it, give account if I abuse it. Just a tiny little minute, but our eternities are wrapped up in it. Thank you for sharing your time with me. I'm grateful for this minute, this moment, this opportunity to share some ideas with you to help you grow yourself and grow your wealth. Are you ready? Yeah. Today, I'm going to do something different. Look, over the last 20 years, that's what we're doing now. We're celebrating 20 years of being on SiriusXM radio. This is my 20th season, and I am so grateful for all of you. I've got something special today. I'm going to do something I've never done before. Look here. I'm going to share with you lessons from the last 20 years. I'm not going to get all of them in that I want to get in, but I'm going to give you some of the lessons from the achievers, the wealth creators who've impacted, empowered me to do more, be more, and achieve more. And these are going to be things you're going to want to take notes on. I've got great information, so you want to stay tuned for this, because this is going to be a special show, a special edition of the Willie Jolley Wealthy Ways show with information from the great people who have blessed these airways that can bless you. Are you ready? Okay. Now, before I get started, I take a minute to do God's Minute, which is the 1-minute message I start every show with from Dr. Benjamin Mays. And then I take a moment to give God some glory, to thank God for life and strength and health. I do it every show. And some people say, you know what? I appreciate it because you're clear, you're honest, you're open. Some might not like it. I don't know. But I hope that you will hear my heart, that I'm just a man who has gratitude for what God has blessed me with. with health and strength to be on this show for 20 years, to have the best-selling books, the speaking, and all the other gifts and blessings he's given. So I take a moment to say thank you. I say thank you. And I've learned that as praises go up, blessings come down. I've learned that. So I say to you every week, God's gift to you is life. Your gift to God is what you do with your life. So I want to encourage you to do something incredible with your life, starting right now. Amen. Okay. And then I take a moment to thank our sponsor, Truist Bank. Truist Bank. Two great banks came together, BB&T and SunTrust. They were competitors, but they decided to stop competing and started cooperating, and they became one bank. They renamed the two banks into one bank called Truist. And they said, we're going to do something different. We're going to build this bank on care. I mean, really, really make that a core value that we want to promote and do with everything we are involved in. And when you start with care, you really do build a different kind of bank. You check them out at Truist Bank. Truist Bank is an incredible partner, and I'm grateful for them. Well, as I said, I've been going on my 20th season. Oh my gosh, 20 years. Now, many of you have been listening to the shows that I have done for the last 7 or 8, 9 years here on this channel, 141. But I was on a different channel before. I was on The Power for a number of years. And it was during that time that it was pretty early in my radio life, so I didn't have the capacity to do a podcast. There was no such thing as a podcast. And I didn't have the capacity to even record all of my interviews. We would just do them live on the air. I wasn't recording them back then. I was just doing them live. I'd get in the studio Saturdays at 2 o'clock, and I just let it ride, just let it fly. So some of those interviews were not recorded, but I would listen to them when they would replay on that. I used to air on Saturdays, Sundays, and one more day during the week. And I would listen and take notes. So I have files and notes in folders, and I pulled them out. I said, some of these have never been heard by our current listeners. If you've not been around for 20 years, and some of you who have been around the whole journey might have forgot some of these great interviews and the quotes that came from them. So I'm going to give you lessons from people over the last 20 years. Some of them are on the podcast, but a lot of them are not, of interviews that have just blessed me. So let's get started with these quotes and these ideas. You want to take some of these down. The first one came to me just this last weekend. The Congressional Black Caucus had their annual convention, and I was invited to come to the convention and do a book panel talking about my new book, Rich is Good, Wealthy is Better. That's not officially out yet, but they wanted to get it before the world got it. And I told them I had some copies of the first printing, what we call galley copies in print in the publishing world. And they're the ones that usually go to influencers and media folks and to our special inside folks. They get the first edition. They get the first printing, which are collector's items. They're very, very precious. They're very wonderful. They're an asset, and they are something that people can maybe use later in their lives to make it a tool to make money. I mean, they could sell it 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and possibly make a lot more than they paid for it. So we have a limited print of these books, and they are exclusively only available in my office or on richisgoodwealthyisbetter.com, which is for my inside folks. It's not in Amazon, not in bookstores. Okay, so I was at the convention center, and a friend of mine, the president of NABHOOD, the National Association of Black Hotel Owners and Operators, he saw me after my book signing, and he said, "Oh my gosh, I love the title of this book, Rich is Good, Wealthy is Better. Wow, what a great title." He said, "Look, is there any way you can stop by our big session tomorrow morning and just say a little bit about the book on Saturday morning?" I said, "I'll do that." So I come by, and he said, "Bring some of the books." So I brought some books. And I only spoke for about 7 to 8 minutes, maybe 9 minutes. But I told people about the fact that the book has a tremendous lesson for people who want to be wealthy. It's to make sure they know the difference between being rich and being wealthy. You know, the book Think and Grow Rich has become an iconic book. It's made more millionaires than any other book other than the Bible. And Think and Grow Rich talks about the fact that you can think and grow rich. Well, this book is like a sequel to Think and Grow Rich because it starts with being rich, that rich is good, but wealthy is better. And so I talked a little bit about that. Then I talked about the fact that many people are working hard, making money, grinding it out, and they say they're creating generational wealth, but what they're really doing is creating rich. They're not creating generational wealth because their definition of wealth is inaccurate. And I was one of them people. I was one of those people for many years. I was saying I want to be wealthy, but I didn't know the difference between rich and wealthy. I thought they were like the bigger versions of the same thing, like a pony and a horse. But I learned through these years of being on XM and interviewing these billionaires and millionaires that I was wrong. That it's not a pony and a horse. It's more like a zebra and a horse. They're two specific, separate entities, species. And how are you going to hit it if you don't know what it is? If I gave each one of you a baseball and told you to hit a wall that was close to you, would you be able to do it? Of course you could. Now, if I gave you that same baseball, put a blindfold on you and turned you around and around and around, and you don't know which way you're facing, would it still be easy to hit that same wall? No, because you can't hit what you can't see. And you definitely cannot hit what you don't know. And that's why wealthy is something that people needed to have a definition of. But unfortunately, most people will say, in my humble opinion, wealth is this or wealth is that. Well, you don't say, in my humble opinion, gravity is this or gravity is that. It's clear what gravity is. And so I needed to find out a definition that was clear about rich, and then a definition was clear about wealthy. So I started working on the book. And so I'm here at this program. I give that information, and then I tell the second part of the book. The first group of people this book appeals to, people who want to be wealthy but not quite sure what it is because you can't hit what you don't know. The second group are the people who have worked hard, who've struggled, who've sacrificed, who've scraped, who've saved, who have worked hard all their lives to create a nest egg, and they are afraid or don't know how to help their children understand that when they die, when that person dies, that money will not become a lottery hit for their children, a payday to have a party. No. And one man said it like this. He said, my greatest fear is my children will not treat my money like I treated it. I've been frugal. I've lived below my means. I've been very conservative on what I spend money on, and my greatest fear. And they can't hear it from me. For some reason, I could talk to them all day long, but they don't hear it. They don't hear it. Somebody every few months coming up, they all working and coming up saying, I'm a little short on my rent this month, or I'm a little short on my car note. And he said, how can I help them? I said, this is the answer. This book is the answer that you need to teach your children how to maintain, sustain, and grow what you leave them. And so I'm at this place doing this interview. doing this speech for NABHOOD. And At the end, I say, look, I'm going to be out for a few minutes in the hallway. The line in the hall was all the way down the hall, people wanting to get a copy of the book. Some got 2 and 3 copies of the book. And afterwards, I was packing up. I had almost no books left, and there were 2 students there, one from Howard and one from the University of District of Columbia. And they said, we were just watching you and how you were taking time. And you're a Hall of Fame speaker. You're a well-known speaker. You're a Cavett Award recipient. Now, we heard your introduction. You're one of the top speakers in the world, yet you were selling books out of a box. I said, yes, I was. I said, there's a reason for that. And I'm going to tell you folks what that reason is when I come from this break. A quote that inspired me to keep hustling. Oh, you're going to want to write this one down. So stay tuned, pull out your pad and your pen, because I'm going to tell you this quote that will inspire you to grow to the next level. This is Dr. Willie Jolley on the Willie Jolley Wealthy Way Show. And for sure, the best is yet to come. Friendship is not about being convenient. It's about being committed and consistent. You can call on me when you need me. You can call on me. Call me. You can call on me. Pick up the phone. You can call and call me. Hey, this is Dr. Willie Jolley, and support for the Willie Jolley Wealthy Way Show and podcast comes from Truist Bank. When you work with someone who knows a lot and cares even more, you're unstoppable. When you become a homeowner, your future starts to feel different. That's power, knowing you could be creating generational wealth to pass down. Truist believes that a path to home ownership exists for you. I hear people say, well, I don't see how I could ever own a home. Truist has programs that could help you buy a home with a lower down payment than you might expect. And their professional guidance helps you build belief that home ownership is within reach. Connect with a Truist teammate to learn about options that are available to you. They will listen to your goals and follow through. Reach them by calling 855-562-1579. Do this for your family and your legacy. That number is 855-562-1579 or visit truist.com/homebuyer. That's truist.com/homebuyer. Certain programs and geographic restrictions may apply. Contact a loan officer for details. Truist Bank is an equal housing lender. And we're back. This is Dr. Willie Jolley on the Willie Jolley Wealthy Way Show and podcast. You can hear the show here on this network. It plays 3 times a week. It plays 3 times a week. You just have to look at the schedule every Saturday at 4 o'clock, and then it re-airs Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6. But then you can check out the interviews over the last numerous years for all the people who I've interviewed on my podcast, the Willie Jolley Wealthy Ways podcast, which is available everywhere on every podcast platform. Just look for the Willie Jolley Wealthy Ways podcast. One lady told me, at that Congressional Black Caucus NAB Hood session, she said, I have listened to your interview with Les Brown for your season premiere many times. Every time it aired, Saturday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Saturday at 4, I listened. Tuesday at 6, I listened. And Thursday again, I listened. And it was one of the best interviews I've ever heard. She said it was fantastic. It was just fantastic. I said, thank you so much. And I told her that the podcast would be up, probably up by the time you're listening to this. If you didn't hear the interview with Les Brown, do that. Go to listen to the 2025 interview with Les Brown. Anyway, going back to the story. I'm finishing up selling all of these books to these people who are lined up where I speak 10 minutes and tell them about the fact that Rich is Good, Wealthy is Better is a book that will change their lives, that will change their future, their family, their finances. It will help them on numerous fronts. One, to help them, to understand the difference between being rich and being wealthy. It's a distinct difference, and you can't hit what you don't know, and you can't hit what you're not aware of. So you got to know what wealth is, and not an opinion. It's a definitive way to separate rich from being wealthy. You got to know that. That's in the book. But second, it's for the people who have worked hard, scrapped and saved and sacrificed, who have fear that their children are going to squander their money, and they don't want that to happen. And they want to find a way to teach their children how to maintain, sustain, and grow that wealth, whatever they leave them. And if you got children, one of the things I've learned is usually there's one or two who are not good with money. And also, there's something called the stranger from afar phenomena, where you can talk to your children and just talk to them about some item, and they're just like, wah, wah, wah. When you talk, wah, that's all they hear. But when some different person who comes along and talks to them about the exact same thing you talked to them about, they automatically, immediately get it. Illumination. It's called the stranger from afar phenomena. Well, it happens in my family. It happens in everybody's family. My daughter, back when she was a teenager, had a bad attitude. Now, I'm an attitude guy. I wrote the book, Attitude of Excellence. I wrote It Only Takes a Minute to Change Your Life. A setback set up for a comeback. Turn setbacks into greenbacks. And yet, my daughter had a bad attitude. And I was talking to my friend, the late, great speaker, Keith Harrell. And we're talking about one thing and another, and I mentioned my daughter's attitude. He wrote the book, Attitude is Everything, one of the greatest attitude coaches in history. He said, give me a number, I'll call her. He talked to her for 20 minutes. Shift. She had a shift. Change their attitude, because it's the stranger from afar phenomenon. And so many parents are struggling with their children who can't hear it from them. That is why the book, Rich is Good, Wealthy is Better, is the answer. So I'm finishing this session. The two guys, Howard University, University of District of Columbia, say, Mr. Jolley, we're just so amazed how you took time with everybody and you sold these books. You sold them like out of the back of your car kind of thing. I said, yes, I did. And that's what I did to get here today. And I said, there's a quote I want you to write down. One of the guests I had on my show was Dr. Bill Picard. Bill Picard was a doctoral student, and he wanted to get in business. And so he took some money from his doctoral scholarship fund to buy in to a third of a struggling McDonald's franchise. And he said, I got to pay this money back, so I got to hustle. So he mopped the floors. He flipped the burgers. He made the fries. And between classes, he was there working as a employee, even though he was an owner. And he was able soon enough to get the money back, to pay back the scholarship so he could continue his doctoral studies. But he continued to work there and hustle, staying in the night, making sure everything was clean. Eventually, his two other partners did not want to hustle like him, so he bought them out. And when he graduated, he went full-time as a McDonald's owner. He made that McDonald's store or restaurant a massive success. Then he bought many, many, many more McDonald's restaurants. He became one of the biggest McDonald's restaurant owners in America. Then he got an opportunity to take some of his money and invest it in a new product, which was an automobile parts company in Detroit, where they made the little knobs that used to be on top of the what we call them, put your door button down. It was the lock the door. You had a little plastic knob that would sit on top of a screw that you would hit down back in the 60s, 70s, 80s that would lock the door. And he made those little knobs. And he became wealthier with that company. And then he took some of that money that he had made and bought into the opening of the MGM Grand Hotel and Casino in Detroit. And he made even more money. And he continued to hustle. So write this one down, folks. Here it is. The incredible quote that inspires me from my friend, Dr. Bill Picard. He passed away just about a year ago. Dr. Bill Picard said, talent is one thing, and hustle is another. And each and every day, hustle will beat talent when talent does not hustle. Let me say that again. Talent is one thing, and hustle is another. And each and every day, hustle will beat talent when talent does not hustle. Folks, you got to hustle. You've got to hustle, and that inspires me to this day. I will sell books like I did with my first book out the back of my car. That's how I sold my first book, and how I was able to take that first book, which was printed by a company that didn't even put them in stores. They just were looking for some people who were willing to hustle their books at their speeches, and I would sell the book literally out of the back of my car. I'd stop and give a little speech, and people come up and I'd sell the book. That's how I got my first major book deal with a New York publisher, because a literary agent heard about this guy who was hustling. And from that deal came It Only Takes a Minute to Change Your Life. It made me a national bestseller. It was a national bestseller, and it made me have name recognition in America, across America. It was in all the bookstores. At back there was Barnes and Nobles and Walden Books and Kmart's. I remember going to Kmart's and meeting the folks there, and they put in a big display in the Kmart stores all across the country, even South Dakota, North Dakota. And so I became well known. Then I had that same book deal with St. Martin's Press, that we put out a second book called A Setback is a Setup for a Comeback. Woo! Became a global bestseller. But I continued to hustle. So folks, continue to hustle. And then my friend B. Smith, the great restaurateur, the late great restaurateur, who was a model, who was a television personality, who was a style icon. She said something when I interviewed her on my show that also encourages me. She said, you must be willing to knock on lots and lots and lots of doors, and be willing to get turned down by many in order to get someone, just one someone, to say yes. She said, if you really want to be successful, you must be willing to stand on a mountain of no's in order to get one yes. Ooh, Lord have mercy. I loved that quote from B. Smith, and it helps me when I have to make calls to talk to people. What is it you want, or what are you willing to call and ask and work on? You're going to get no's. You're going to get rejected. It's part of the process. But if you do this, what B. Smith did to become an icon, you will succeed. Let me say her quote again. Be willing to knock on lots and lots and lots of doors, and be willing to get turned down by many in order to get one someone to say yes. If you really want to be successful, you must be willing to stand on a mountain of no's in order to get a yes. Wow. I love that quote. I love that quote. Here's one more from Brian Tracy, the great goals guru. He said, imagine you could have whatever you want. You just wave a magic wand and you would make your future perfect in every way. What would you want? What would your perfect life look like? Now ask, what one action could you take today to move toward that goal? Then get a clear, vivid picture of what you want for yourself. Write it down and go to work to make it a reality. Imagine you could wave a magic wand and make your future perfect in every way. What would you want? What would your perfect life look like? Now ask, what one action could you take to move toward that goal? Then get a clear, vivid picture of what you want for yourself. Write it down and go to work to make it a reality. Hey, we're going to take a quick break for station identification. This is Dr. Willie Jolley on the Willie Jolley Wealthy Way Show. We'll be right back. Hi, this is Dr. Willie Jolley, and I got an email from a gentleman in Australia who shared how he had been struggling in his business, and he bought some of my books and audios, and how it had a profound impact on his business, and he went from worst to first in his company. I shared with him how much I appreciated his note, but I told him those books, those audios, those videos were not just something that I just thought up one day and started to write. They were born out of my experiences, out of the challenges of overcoming the problems and the difficulties and how I was able to do it. And I shared with him that others have sent similar messages and that these resources work. I want to encourage you and invite you to go to my store. Go to wjspeaks.com/shop. wjspeaks.com/shop. Get some of the books. It only takes a minute to change your life. Or a setback is a setup for a comeback. Or turn setbacks into greenbacks. Or chicken soup for the soul. Or an attitude of excellence. Or the book I wrote with my wife after 34 years of being married and not having an argument in over 30 years. We wrote a book called Make Love, Make Money, Make It Last. And now it is saving marriages all over the globe. Go to the store. Get some of the audios, the videos, the books, the resources to help you have greater personal and professional success. This is Dr. Willie Jolley. Make this a great day on purpose. And we're back. This is Dr. Willie Jolley on the Willie Jolley Wealthy Way Show. For those who are just joining us, we're doing a special show. I've been wondering, what could I do to celebrate this 20th year that we are going into for being on this program, the Willie Jolley Wealthy Way Show. What could I do to really give the listeners something unique? And I shared that the first few years when I was on, we were doing everything live, and there were very few options to record. There was no such thing as podcast. We would just get on the radio, turn on the mic, and I'd start going to town, and I'd have callers or I'd have guests, and many times I didn't get a recording of that interview, so I would listen to it the second time it aired, and I'd take notes. And I went into my file cabinet, and I found, oh my goodness, I found files, big, bulky files of pages and pages of stuff. Great quotes, great notes. It was incredible. Incredible guests. Some of you might have heard the interviews 20 years ago when I was on the radio. Sometime it was early morning. I had an early morning. First time I was on 8 o'clock in the morning, Eastern time. And then they moved me after about a year to 2 o'clock in prime time in the afternoon, so that people on the West Coast could hear it and the people on the East Coast could hear it, and everybody could get it because the show had become so popular. And then, as many of you know, I left that station, The Power. They changed the name to now it's Urban View, but it was called The Power. And I went over to HOR Voices because of my friend Jim Watkins got an opportunity to have an XM channel for Howard University. And he said, could you come and be my anchor for this new station? I said, yes, I'll do that. Because he had been my friend. I'd been on his station for 20 years, every morning preceding Steve Harvey. And he had always been honest and fair and loyal. I said, I'll be happy to help you. And so that's where I've been since. But some of those interviews were not recorded. So I went and got the files, and I'm going through these files with stuff that has blessed me, has inspired me, empowered me, emboldened me to do more, be more, and achieve more. So here's another one. Here's another one of these quotes. Oh, before I get to that, let me take a moment just to tell you about my great friends at Truist. Truist is an incredible partner, and I want to thank them for their sponsorship of the Willie Jolley Wealthy Ways show. If you're a longtime Wealthy Ways listener, you know I believe that mindset is the key to success. And so does Truist. That's why they created their incredible resource, Money and Mindset. It's a podcast. It's full of tips to help you with your finances and well-being. You can get articles, quizzes, calculators, and even more great podcasts like the ones I did with that group. And it's hosted by Bright and Brian, and it's incredible. You can hear it at truist.com/money and mindset, truist.com/money and mindset. And you can get some of these great resources that will help you to grow your success. Truist is a leader in banking and unwavering in care. They really do care. So here's one of the quotes that I just loved. It's a quote by my friend Mark Victor Hansen. Mark Victor Hansen, for those who don't know, is the co-author of the book Chicken Soup for the Soul, which has sold more books than any other series in history. They got turned down by 33 publishers when they first wrote that book. 33. And so they finally found one little publisher in Florida who was really a printer who said, I can't give you an advance. I'll give you $1,000. Most advances are 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, $1 million. But he said, I only get $1,000. He said, but in exchange, I'll give you $1 per book. Now that's unheard of for an author to get $1 a book. Each one of them would get $1 a book. So they went to work. His job was to print the book. Their job was to promote the book. They promoted that book. Each one of them did multiple interviews every day on television, radio, well, that back then they didn't even have podcasts when it first came out. But they did every kind of interview they could do to promote that book. Chicken Soup for the Soul went on to sell millions of copies. They both became multimillionaires. And they were willing to ask that publisher. They went to 34. 33 said no and said, would you publish my book? And here's what Mark Victor Hansen says. It's a great quote. He says, Scripture teaches that you must ask in order to really receive. So you must dare to ask for what you want. Ask, what can you do that is unique and needed? And then picture it being big and start to see it. Visualize it being big and prosperous and go to work. So let me read it again. Scripture teaches that you must ask in order to receive. So you must dare, which means have the courage, to ask for what you want. Ask what can you do that is unique and needed, and then clearly and vividly picture it in your mind and see it as being big and prosperous, and then go to work. Mark Victor Hansen. One of the people who I'm pretty sure you never heard on my podcast is Duke Green. I write about him in the new Rich is Good, Wealthy is Better book because he had such a profound impact on my life. He started a group of men in Washington, D.C. called the Ham Hock Group, which is now a national group that meets weekly on Zoom. But it used to meet at a restaurant on the D.C. waterfront, a high-end restaurant. He would gather the successful men and occasionally a woman would come, but it was primarily the men would come and sit and talk about stuff. They would talk about politics. They'd talk about women, of course, but then they talk about money. And I had met Duke Green. He was one of the first big IT entrepreneurs in America back in the 1970s. He built a company called IBS, International Business Systems. And he had hired my brother to write a theme song for one of his programs. And my brother took me with him to meet Duke Green at his luxurious office a few blocks away from the White House. 10th floor. People were scurrying around. They said, Mr. Green is awaiting you. They went in his office. He had a 3-piece suit on. It was white. I'll never forget it. And he sat us down and said, I'm looking forward to this song. And then he gave me a piece of advice. He said, young man, let me tell you something. Make money. And then help others with it. He said, I would rather make money and give it away than not make it at all. Keep that in mind. Oh, well, I kept that in mind. And years later, my first book came out. It Only Takes a Minute to Change Your Life. Was in bookstores, as I told you, all over the country. And one day I get a call from Duke Green. He said, Willie Jolley, I got your book. I bought 100 copies for my employees. Would you be willing to come over to my office and sign them and say a few words for my team? I said, absolutely. So went over and talked to his folks, signed the books. He said, why don't you come to my group, the Ham Hop group, and check it out on this Saturday morning? I said, yes, sir. And I went, and all of these big-time millionaires and iconic congressmen and political figures and sports stars, and I mean, just the cream of the crop were sitting around a breakfast table, a long breakfast table, just talking. And I sat there and I started taking notes as they started talking about how to create wealth and how to create money and how to grow yourself and grow your success. I was amazed. So every Saturday after that, I tried and make my way down to that restaurant. And so Duke Green went on to make millions and millions of dollars in multiple businesses. He had all sorts of businesses. This is something Duke said. Whoever you hang with will help you or will hinder you. So choose carefully who you hang out with. If you hang with dummies, then you will end up being a dummy. Yet if you are just average and you start hanging with smart, successful people, then you will get smarter. Ooh, he was so true. I was just the average guy, but I hung out with Duke Green and the guys at the Ham Hock. So let me read it again. Whoever you hang out with will help you or hinder you. So choose carefully who you hang out with. If you hang out with dummies, then you will end up being a dummy. Yet if you are just average and start hanging out with smart, successful people, then you will get smarter. Well, that's what I did. I hung out with Duke Green and his friends at the restaurant on Saturday mornings. And I got smarter. Oh, yeah, I got smarter. There's a whole chapter in the book about the Ham Hock Group, about Duke Green, and then about Carl Jones, who was the wealthiest of all the men at the table. Now, Duke was wealthy. He had all sorts of revenue streams, but Carl Jones was the wealthiest. He was a huge national concrete company owner. He had an engineering firm that did big government contracts. He had all sorts of business interests, and he bought cryptocurrency. I'll never forget. He bought cryptocurrency, Bitcoins. He bought Bitcoins when they were $1 a piece. As you might know, a Bitcoin now, what is it? $50,000 a coin. He bought them when they were $1. He bought a bunch of them. Wealthy. And Carl Jones would always say, money goes with whoever treats it best. It will hang with whoever treats it best. And then he said, here's the secret to success. How did old man Rothschild become so wealthy? He said, because I sold too soon. He said, you can never lose money if you make a profit and then sell before the money starts going down. Sell after you made a profit and look for your new opportunity. And he had one more last line, because trees don't grow to the sky. There's a point when a tree stops growing. And that's how he would say about investments. They're going to one day stop going up, or at least stop being as prosperous as they had. Look for the next one that's growing from the ground up, and look for that. Oh, Carl Jones was a tremendous guy. He passed away last year, and I eulogized him at his service. What a great guy. Okay, we got more of these lessons from these people I've interviewed that can change your life and change your future, change your finances, change your family, and help you grow your wealth. This is Dr. Willie Jolley on the Willie Jolley Wealthy Way Show. And for sure, your best is yet to come. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Motivated, highly motivated, motivated, gonna take it to the top. Motivated, highly motivated, motivated, I'm never gonna stop. I had a job I really hated. It made me sick, but it got me motivated. I knew that this was not where I was meant to be. I didn't want to stay, but I was too afraid to leave. Then one day I got my check, there was almost nothing there. I went to the boss, he laughed and said he didn't care. My kids were at home hungry, I was about to lose my home. That's when I decided I had to make it on my own. Said I gonna take it to the top. I said oh yeah, said I'm never gonna stop. My friends said I was crazy when I told them all goodbye, but the only one who's crazy is the one who's afraid to try. They said I never.
Hey, this is Dr. Willie Jolley, here to thank Truist Bank for their sponsorship of the Willie Jolley Wealthy Ways show and podcast. Now, if you're a longtime Wealthy Ways listener, you know I believe that mindset is the key to success, and so does Truist. That's why they've created their incredible resource, Money and Mindset. It's full of tips to help you with your finances and help you with your well-being. You can get articles, quizzes, calculators, and hey, even more podcast information that will bless you, all for free and for anyone to use. Check it out today at truist.com/money and mindset. Truist.com/money and mindset. Truist, leaders in banking, unwavering in care, and Truist Bank is a member FDIC, leading based on top 10 U.S. commercial bank. And we're back. This is Dr. Willie Jolley on the Willie Jolley Wealthy Ways show. And today is a special show. I call it The Lessons from the Legends for the Last 20 Years. The lessons from the legends over the last 20 years that have changed my life. And these are, some of them are lessons that you've never heard because they weren't recorded. They're not on the podcast. They were only broadcast, and I took notes. I wrote them on sheets of paper. Here's another one of those great quotes from my friend Tracy Lynn, who started a jewelry company, Tracy Lynn Jewelry. And she eventually built it large enough to sell it. She now is, I talked to her not too long ago. She said, I'm living my best life. I'm wealthy. I got great investments. And I decided to become one of my goals, a after 60-year-old bodybuilder. And she said, I'm enjoying my life. I said, you are awesome. Here's what she said. She said, your mindset is the key to your success. And mindset comes from your inputs. Your inputs determine your outputs. What are you reading? What are you listening to? And what are you speaking to yourself? Your mindset can come from your mouth. No poor talking, no sick talking, no sad talking. Speak up words, think up thoughts, and you will see more up moments in your life. Let me read that again. Your mindset is the key to your success. And mindset comes from inputs. Your inputs determine your outputs. What are you reading? What are you listening to? And I'll put a little caveat there. Are you listening to a lot of mess? Reality shows? Are you reading Harlequin novels? That's all you do? You should be reading self-help books. Think and Grow Rich, The Power of Thinking Big, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The Richest Man in Babylon. Anyway, what are you reading? What are you listening to? And what are you speaking to yourself? Your mindset can come from your mouth. No more poor talking. No more sick talking. And no more sad talking. Speak up words. Think up thoughts. And you will see more up moments in your life. Woo! I had the honor of having on my show Dr. Miles Monroe. Bless his heart. You know, he died in a plane crash. And it was such an interesting situation that he lived in Bahamas. He was constantly traveling. And he was on his way overseas, and he had to do a layover to catch a flight out of Atlanta. The flight was going to leave at 2 a.m. So when I finally was able to talk to him, he said, I got one window from my hotel room. I'll be in Atlanta. I need to do the interview at 11 p.m., 11 to 12, midnight. Then walk on over to, I'll be at the airport, at the hotel at the airport, and then going over to my gate and get ready for my flight out of the country. Can you make that happen? That's my only window. I said, yes, sir. And so we did. It was a great interview. And some months, or maybe it was 2012, I think, I went to speak in Nigeria. And the gentleman who brought me to speak also had booked Miles Monroe for the week before me. And we met at the hotel and got to see each other and take pictures. And sometime thereafter, I was in Bahamas, and I went to his church, and he took me around the island afterwards and took us to our hotel, my wife and I. He was a great guy, just a great man. Here's what Miles Monroe said. Where is much of the potential wealth in the world? It is in the graveyard. All the people who had great ideas but never moved on them, and they took those ideas with them to their graves. Do not take your greatness and wealth ideas with you to your grave. Move on them today, right now. I love that quote. Another quote. I'm trying to get through some of these because these are so good. Oh, they're so good. It's another quote from Miles Monroe. He said, to develop your gift, people will pay for it. Solomon said that a man's gifts make room for him. Keep in mind that an army of mules led by a lion will always defeat an army of lions led by a mule. Become a lion. Inside every follower is a leader who has not yet figured out that there's greatness inside of them. Decide to be the best you that you can be and move on it right now. Develop your gift. Here's a quote from Willie Jolley. They call him the super lawyer, who has created, I think he's won $1 billion in law verdicts. He said, it is not the size of the dog in the fight. It is the size of the fight in the dog. Don't focus on the size of your opponent. Focus on your desire to win and keep fighting. Here's one by someone you would not know their name because they are not celebrities. This guy is a real estate investor who wrote a book. I met him at the National Speakers Association. He wrote a book about investing in real estate and how he did it on the weekends and became a multimillionaire. Some of his books are Weekend Millionaire Mindset, Weekend Millionaire Success in Negotiating Real Estate, and Weekend Millionaire's Secret to Investing in Real Estate. As I said, he started with little, just a little small property, and he ended up owning hundreds and hundreds of rental properties, becoming a multi-millionaire. He said, with wealth, you start to control some of the circumstances of life. While without wealth, the circumstances will control you. So work on your wealth. Live below your means and invest the difference. It takes desire, discipline, and dedication, and you will win more if you do. Let me say that again. With wealth, you start to control some of the circumstances of life. While without wealth, the circumstances control you. So work on your wealth. Live below your means and invest the difference. It takes desire, discipline, and dedication, and you will start to win more and be a winner in more parts of your life. And then one more quote from T.D. Jakes, who came out of West Virginia. I love something he told me one time. He said he was, at one point in his life, digging ditches to buy diapers for his children. And he worked for the electric company, preached on the weekends and at night. And he said sometimes he wouldn't get but $25 when he would preach. Had an old raggedy car. And so he worked for the utility company, and he dug ditches and dug holes. And he said it was hard work. But it was what grew him into what he has become known as, a multi-millionaire, entrepreneur extraordinaire, incredible, gifted playwright and author, television, radio personality. He said, achievement comes with being uncomfortable. Butterflies are created from struggle. Pearls are created by irritation. And diamonds are created by pressure. You must sometimes first go through the small challenges to get to the medium-sized challenges to give you the opportunity to get to the big challenges. Each level prepares you for the next level. And with each level of success, you grow your ability to win. Wow. Well, folks, I hope you've enjoyed this special session of the Willie Jolley Wealthy Way Show, where I have brought you lessons from the last 20 years, lessons from the legends of the last 20 years. Listen again. We'll put it on the podcast. If you didn't catch the notes, you remember I said this show airs Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. If you caught it on Saturday, then you got 2 more chances to write down the notes. And then listen to the podcast. Finally, remember to support our sponsor, Truist Bank. They've been a great partner, and I appreciate them. Go to truist.com, truist.com. And remember, when you start with care, you build a different kind of bank. Truist Bank is leaders in banking and unwavering in care. And then I want you to join me every Monday night for the Jolly Marriage Show on A Jolly Marriage on Facebook. A Jolly Marriage on Instagram. We need numbers on Instagram because Instagram has some new policy that you have to have a certain amount of numbers to get it to be live broadcast. I need you to follow me on A Jolly Marriage on Instagram. A Jolly Marriage on Instagram. And then Willie Jolley LinkedIn Live. And of course, you can go to the Jolly Marriage Show on YouTube. And then go to Rich is Good, wealthyisbetter.com to get your first edition. This is only an exclusive offer for people who are in my circle. Rich is Good, wealthyisbetter.com. Once this small print run is gone, they're gone. But these are collector's items. You're going to be glad you have it. It'll give you more return than you paid for it in due season. Rich is Good, wealthyisbetter.com. Have a great day. Be blessed. And remember, for sure, your best is yet to come. God bless you.
stand up and fight. Hey, people, listen closely to the sound of my voice. Success in life is never due to chance but to choice. You choose to go on, to go through the storm, or you choose to give up, give in, and throw in the towel. Oh no, up to you. It's up to you. Whether you win or lose. Whether you win or lose. If you want to reach the top, you must believe deep in your heart. Give it.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode, and I hope you got something of great value. And I hope that you were inspired, you were motivated, you were empowered, and you were encouraged to live your best life. I hope this information and this inspiration will help you to do more, be more, and to achieve more. That's the goal why I started this program, and I hope it helped you in a mighty way. Now, I ask you to make sure and that you take full advantage of all the resources that came through this program. I hope you go to wjspeaks.com/gift and get some of the free resources that we have there for you. I hope you go to wjspeaks.com/shop to get some of the books that we have created, that we've labored over to make sure that they will deliver a powerful message to you. I hope you go to williejolly.com/billionaire, williejolly.com/billionaire, or wjspeaks.com/billionaire to get the box that it will inspire your whole family, or get the bag of books. Make this a great day, a great week, a great month. And remember, it is true that you are blessed and all things are possible for them that believe. So make the most of the belief that you have now in your future. This is Dr. Willie Jolley. Have a great day.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.